glad to get the win. You know, anytime you can get a win, especially against an opponent like Old Dominion, we'll take it. Wasn't the prettiest of games by any stretch. We got to get better on the defensive end. I know this team can score, but we got to sell out and continue to get better in transition, defending the basketball on the perimeter, and then boxing out and rebounding. Yeah, you know, we got caught switching a lot. We don't switch, you know, anything we do. You know, we try to be fundamentally sound. To be good defensively, you got to be fundamentally sound. And when you're gambling and you're switching, you're not fundamentally sound, and that leads to open shots and open threes. And we've got to get better at that. You know, we've got to be fundamentally sound. You know, talk about closing out short, pressuring. We like to pressure. You know, sometimes you're going to get beat, but, you know, being up the line, cheating to the ball, pressuring and then containing. Not over-pursuing or gambling like you're talking about, not switching on the baseline. And then you got to finish plays and box out. They hurt us sometimes on the pick and pop. You know, we probably, you know, it was a long recovery for our post guy. We probably should have sent the other post guy out. That's something we work on. We didn't stress it with them, and we tried to do it late. But we got lost a lot on the perimeter.
How much of that then sort of snowballed into just all the offensive rebounds that you gave up?
Well, you know, even last year, you know, we haven't been a great defensive rebounding team for whatever. The last 3 days, that's all. Old Dominion prides themselves on being a tremendous offensive rebounding team. I think they're +9 offensive rebounds. You go hear Coach Taylor speak at a clinic that I was at. He talks about rebounding. That's their program. I mean, that's why they won 100 games in the last 4 years, because they're tougher than their opponent. And that's what we pride ourselves on. And they beat us up on the glass, 17 offensive rebounds. Thank goodness we got Ed Daniel, who was a man tonight on the glass, but nobody else really helped him out.
Can you talk about how locked in Ed has been all year?
He's been terrific. You know, he's been terrific. I mean, he's had I think he may have had the last 3 or 4 games double-doubles. I mean, his goal is to average a double-double. You know, he's playing each and every day as hard as he possibly can. He practices well. He prepares well. His back's really hurt, and you probably can see that. It was hurt over there in Charleston. The problem is we played 3 games in 4 days. Take a couple days. Now we're going 2 games in 3 days, and then we'll have a week off. You know, we're playing kind of like an NBA team, to where our practices aren't as detailed because we're trying to get some rest. And then Jeff's hurt, Ed's beat up, but he's really been dialed in, and we wouldn't be. You know, he was. I told people that they asked. He was the unsung hero of last year's team. You know, he's so good defensively, and he's got such a high IQ for the game.
You mentioned Ed's back. Is it just back spasm, something muscular, or structural?
Yeah, I think it's more muscular, and you know, it started hurting, I think, in the St. John's game, and he's been getting treatment, you know, twice a day for it, and over in Charleston, and with the strength coach and with Eric, and it started bothering him tonight. But you know, he sat for a minute or two, but. You know, Ed in the past hadn't played 35, 36 minutes, and he's been playing extended minutes this year so far, and he's going to have to.
Jeff, I'm not sure he could go and went early.
Yeah, he just, you know, he didn't practice really, and I really should have went with CJ probably first, just off the rule of if you're not practicing full go, you're probably not going to get the first look. But he had done so well in his first couple games with us that I threw him out there, but he just didn't look in sync to me. You know, he got beat off the dribble a couple times, I believe. He can make threes, but, you know, we still want him trying to drive and attack in that zone. You can't settle for threes, but he's going to be a good player for us. We just got to get him healthy, and the best way to get healthy is try to win Monday night somehow and then get a week off and get some of these guys back in shape and more fundamentally sound.
Did he make it worse all tonight, or was it just you saying?
I just think, you know, I really was like, man, let's just try to get it. If we can try to win this game without him, let's just try to do it, you know. But we miss him, you know. We miss him on the perimeter, miss him depth. But I thought CJ stepped up and did some good things.
And CJ gave you really good minutes. It was on the floor late before you done the stretch.
He did. I thought he did a tremendous job. You know, he missed 2 layups, or he'd be 3 for 4 from the field and with 7 points, 3 assists, no turnovers if he makes those 2 layups. And he missed, you know, he missed that open 3 in the corner, you know, which I'll live with. But the problem I had with that play is he gave up a dribble penetration drive from the top. But I thought he showed a lot of competitiveness, a lot of savvy out there tonight. He made a really big play transition, kicked it ahead for an open three to Dexter.
Was there anything specifically they were doing in that zone that was confusing for guys?
No, it's just when you first of all, we want to score off our defense and we want to run. But we're giving up buckets. We're giving up baskets on that end. So now, they have our post guys spread out a little bit. So they got to run to get the ball back out of bounds. And we're not in our transition offense. So we're going against a set defense every time. And, we're trying, you got a couple freshmen on the floor, so you can't be too creative. You got to kind of just stick with what you know. But we scored 80 points. And we missed 29 shots and 8 free throws. So the offense, we were okay. The defensive end is where we got better. If we score 79 points every night, we'll have a chance to win a lot of games if we get better defensively.
Second game in a row, Stacy's just trying to do too much right now.
Yeah, it's just I got all the confidence in the world in him, but you just got to play the game the right way. And he can't have 6 turnovers in a half-court game against a 2-3, 3-2 zone. Man, they're not pressing or anything, and he pressing at times. But I just want to be locked in on the defensive end, and he'll get his shots, he'll get his offense, and we need him to be good for us to be good. Yeah, he's doing well. I thought he did well over there in Charleston. It hurt us. He got in foul trouble in the Colorado game. But, the one thing he needs to do better is rebound better. He can't have one defensive rebound in 28 minutes. He's got to rebound better on the defensive end. That's what I was – offensively, he's doing some good things for us around the basket, finishing plays. But defensively, he's got to get his rebounds to where she should have hopefully had about 8 or 9 tonight, 4 or 5 defensive rebounds, because there was a big play late. He got rode under the goal, 71-68, and they got it and put it back in right over top of him. But he's been good. I mean, anytime he can get 13 points, that's terrific. 6 for 6 from the field, that means he's taking good shots. He's been good for us. Him and Ed, even Pep off the bench and Eric, I thought they were solid for us. But we just didn't defend well tonight.
Coach, was Stacey struggling, and it seems like maybe Dexter's, taking that next step and has shown some good games, especially tonight. Talk to me a little bit about his role in the offense and how he came through tonight.
Well, Dexter, he's 3 for 5 from the 3. The best thing he does is shoot. And he's got to be our best defensive player on the other end. He had 5 assists, 0 turnovers. He's playing unselfish. One thing, Dexter, he just loves to win. He was more into the games last year than this year almost. He just wants to win. He wants to be a part of a winning team and a winning culture. He's shooting the ball better now. Got a lot of confidence in him to make shots. But I want him to be more than just a 3-point shooter, because he can get to the paint and make good decisions as well. But he's been good, and he played well in Charleston. He was solid tonight, and we're going to need his productivity. And we just got to get Jeff and CJ. You got to get Jeff healthy, get Stacy back going, and we'll be okay. We just didn't play with a hunger tonight, I didn't think.
Guy scores 30, you haven't mentioned that. Was it the quietest 30 points Isaiah's ever had?
No question. That's what I was wondering how many he had. But,
Just none of it came in a flurry.
he just kind of picks and chooses his spots when he's got to make plays. And he took a couple, and I'll tell him when he takes bad shots. He took about the 8 he missed. There was 2 or 3. One he may have gotten fouled on that they may not could see, but I thought he got hit. But we ended up, I think Brandon got the rebound and put it back in possibly. But, Isaiah's terrific, and he just plays the game the right way. But again, I'm harping on him. It's just he's got to be great defensively. He's got to contain the basketball and defend the 3-point line and help us rebound, because he's so big and strong. He should be able to get in there and get some rebounds. But if there's a quiet 30, it was a quiet 30. But he made the big shots when he had to, and that's why he's really good. But it just can't be Isaiah for us to be great. It just can't be Isaiah and Ed. It just can't be Isaiah and Ed. For us to be great, it's got to be Isaiah, Ed, Brandon, Stacy, Dexter, CJ, Eric, Jeff. It needs to be all 8, 9 of them guys.